All right, so we're on Joseph. Joseph, it's a long story. I'm not gonna read the whole thing right now. I'm just gonna read the first passage in 37, and then I'm gonna give the rest of the story. And I want you guys to just go back and read on your time because it goes all the way from chapter 37 to 50. You know what I mean? So, but I'm gonna give you the short version. But I am gonna read the first chapter 37. All right, let's start. And Jacob dwelt in the land of wherein his father was a stranger in the land of Canaan. And these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bela and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. So he just went back and told them all the little bad stuff they were talking about and all this stuff, you know. So now Israel, that's Jacob as well. So you may see Jacob and Israel. Israel and Jacob is the same people. God changed his name to Israel because that's where you get the 12 tribes from. Those are his tribes. So now Israel loved Joseph more than all the children because he was the son of his old age, and he had made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to the brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we have binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to the brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee on the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto him. And he said unto him, Here I am. And he said unto him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with thy flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of Vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. Now, all of this is basically saying they wanted to kill him. And the oldest brother, Reuben, didn't want to kill their little brother. But he didn't like him either. So they just put him in this pit to die, but then they thought about it, they could make some money off him, so they sold him into slavery. And so when he got sold into slavery, in the Bible, he became a slave, and then he ended up being a slave, being a house slave. He got sent into the house in with Potiphar is the guy, the man he was working for. And his wife, Potiphar, became attracted to Joseph, and so she tried to come on to him. And Joseph, being a man of God, resisted her for two reasons. One, because he's a child of God. And two, I'm not finna mess with the man who's taking care of me wife. You know what I mean? And so she got mad. She kept coming to him every day. And he kept resisting her. No, no, no. So then he ended up coming into a place where he was working and none of the men showed up. So he was about to leave, but she came up in there and he had on his garment. So when she grabbed on his garment, trying to get him to sleep with her again, he ran and left the garment. So she used it to her advantage and told her husband that he raped her, because she had the garment to prove it. So he ended up getting put in prison. In prison, he was in prison for a few years, and then he ended up coming out until, and help, and that's when he ended up, fulfilling a dream. Now, I'm going to get into this. Now, first we're going to start. He was 17 years old, and God came to him in a dream at 17 and told him that that your brothers and your family are gonna bow down to you one day. At 17 years old, what you gonna be doing to get somebody to bow down to you? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you got your 11 brothers. You know what I mean? They don't even respect you, don't even like you, because The dad chose you or love you more than him. See, one thing we got to learn as parents, you may have several kids, and one of them may be your favorite. But one thing you cannot do is show it. You know what I mean? And that's what Joseph did. Jacob did with Joseph. He showed it was not right. You don't do that because even God had a favorite, which was David. But David had the same kind of treatment like all the rest of them. You know what I mean? You can't make it obvious that that one is your favorite. You know what I mean? It just come natural. I'm pretty sure Dion got a favorite, but you don't just show it. You know what I mean? You love them all the same, but it's just someone that's just gonna do what you want them. They're gonna do what you ask them to do, and you got someone's gonna rebel. So you just gonna draw to that one that's just obedient. You know what I mean? So that's how it is. So at 17 years old, and this is what I want you guys to understand. This is one of the reasons why people go through. That's why people of God go through what they go through. He's 17 years old. He's living with his brothers that don't like him, and then God sent him this dream. So how can he be? How can somebody bow to him, and they don't even like him? So how is God going to put him in that position? One, Joseph was arrogant. That's why he said that the brother said that his words bothered him in addition to the dream. Because God at 17, you know you're going to be a little bit confident. Oh, God, so they're going to bow to me? Oh, it's on. So he probably like, shoot, somebody like us would be like, you probably give me a little crown, a little miss you in, I'm saying, king's kid, you know, because, matter of fact, go on and make me a little sandwich since y'all going to be bowing. You see, we take it there. And I'm pretty sure that's what Joseph did, because his words made them even more mad. So he probably was bragging in the fact, y'all gonna be bowing down to me. But the thing about it is, how they gonna bow down to you? You're not in a position to. One thing, you're 17. You have never served. You have never had you don't have any kind of experience in whatever you're supposed to do for them to bow down to you. So when God tells you, when He comes to you and tell you, I got something, I want you to preach to millions of people. How you gonna preach to millions of people but you don't have a clue? So in Joseph's case, Joseph was 17, so he didn't know how to serve. Because when you become a child of God, you become a servant of God. He don't serve you. You serve him. That means you have to serve others. You know what I mean? So he has never served others. So what did God do? But because he was arrogant, you still got to pay for what you do. So what God do? He used his brothers. Because his brothers was already in anger mode. You know what I mean? And so he used them to put him in that pit. That's why he should have kept his mouth shut. And they got to pay for it. So what they do? Sold him into slavery. It wasn't the fact that he used them to sold him into slavery. Why? So he can learn how to serve. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't going to learn how to serve at home. Because his daddy was his daddy's favorite. You see how he was already doing. So what did God have to do? He had to separate him from the people that was going to keep him from learning how to serve. You know what I mean? So he got forced to serve. He was sold into slavery. In slavery, you have to be submissive. Oh, I forgot the other fruits of the Spirit. It's 9 of them. It's meekness. I'm sorry, y'all. Meekness. Let me make sure I don't forget anymore. Can you pull up your Bible on your phone?
I can.
Go on Galatians 5:22. You probably get to it before I do.
Yeah, meekness and temperance.
Yeah, meekness and temperance. I know it was supposed to be 9 of them. All right, so when he went, so he had to be forced. He had to be a slave. Why? Not because God wanted him to be a slave. It's because God wanted to teach him how to serve. And a lot of people would look at it as, oh, you a slave, you a slave. Understand, you are working for God. So God has to teach you. And because he was so hard-headed, so confident, and so arrogant, he had to teach him in that way, in that manner. So he became a slave. But even though your brother sold you out and sold you into slavery, God never said that he would keep you from evil. He said he'll be with you through it. So what did God do for him? He was a slave out there with the rest of them. They were slaving all outside and doing banging and building and sweating and all that. But God showed favor to Joseph because Joseph served him. So what did Joseph do? He got a job inside the house because Potiphar liked his work, like how he worked. So what God do? Show favor, put it in his heart, let's bring him in. So he in there living nice. They put him in a nice little solid little room, but he still had to serve Potiphar. You know what I mean? That's who he was serving, Potiphar. So he's in there, he's living good. God showing favor. He's in there, he's fine. He's doing his thing. He's obedient. He's submissive. That's what meekness is. He being submissive. Now he didn't have to learn how to love because he already learned how to love it through his daddy. He just had to learn how to love his enemies. You know what I mean? So he already does. So he's meekness now. He's submissive. He's doing like he's supposed to and obeying his man. He's every time he asked him to do something, he did it without murmuring or complaining. He just did it. That's how God trains you. You know what I mean? So what ended up happening? Okay, now he goes in there. He's living good. He gets tempted again with the wife. See, he already learned how to serve Potiphar. And in order for somebody to be able to bow down to you, what are they bowing down to? You have to be some type of leader for somebody to be bowing down to you. You have to be a servant if somebody is bowing down to you. So he, at 17, he ain't at that level to be bowed down to yet. But God made that promise. You know what I mean? So you got whatever plan that you're going through, don't matter what, if you're a slave, God put you there for a reason. So he could teach you how to serve. So now he gets locked up for being falsely accused of raping. Now you're not but what God do? God showed favor while he was in prison because he walked around in love and joy. He walked around in goodness, and goodness is being obedient, using your moral compass. So he was obedient. He did not yell at nobody, fuss. He didn't cuss nobody out. He just did what he's supposed to do. Even when they accused him, he didn't fight. Why? Because he knew he was working for God, no one else. And he might not even understood God's plan. But he know that God says in his word that all things go together for your good for them that love God, for them that are called according to his purpose. So if he knows this, even though God made this promise, you in reality, we like, what in the world's going on? How am I supposed to serve? You got me all locked up and I'm being a slave. But you don't come question it. You just roll with it. You know what I mean? So he rolled with it. So now he in prison. And now God showed favor in prison. The gatekeeper of the prison loved him because of his mannerism, how he's humble, how he doesn't complain. So what he do? He put him in charge of the prisoners. Now he is serving people, a ton of people. No longer just one person, a ton of people. How you gonna learn how to serve? How you gonna be bowed to only just serving one person? You know what I mean? So now he has to train him to serve more than one people, to serve a group of people, because you got to be in some type of leadership for you to have your brothers to come to bow to you. So now he's preparing him for that, and he put him in prison. He didn't complain; he just did it. So now he's in there. He's in prison, and he got this chief baker and the chief butler in there with him, and they got in trouble too, so they in prison, and they both had a dream, and they shared it with David. The butler had a dream. And matter of fact, we could just go to the dream and just read that. So that'll be Genesis 42, I think. Genesis 40. The chief butler. Now, he was in Pharaoh. Okay, we're gonna start with verse 2. Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers, and he put them in the war in the house of the captain of the guard into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them. And they continued a season in the war. Now, and they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came into them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers, they were with him in the war in the Lord's house, saying, wherefore look y'all sadly today? And they said to him, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretation belong to God? Tell me them, and I pray you. So in his dream to Joseph, and he said unto him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto him, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand. So he was letting him know that you're gonna go back. You're gonna get out of prison. You're gonna go back to the job you was as being Pharaoh's butler. So that's what he's saying, let him know in 3 days. And he said, and after the former manner when you was his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, and unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. So he told him, when you get out, think of me. Let Pharaoh know I didn't rape that woman, so to try to get me out. You know what I mean? So he was like, because he knew he was going to get out in 3 days. Mm-hmm. So then the baker comes to him. He said, but think of me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away of the land of the Hebrew, and there also have I done nothing that they should put me in this dungeon. Now when the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also had a dream. And hold, I had 3 white baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was all of the manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from of thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off there. So he was letting them know, you was beating the death penalty, dude. You know what I mean? So the butler was going back to work, and the baker was going to get executed. Basically what he was telling, and it happened. So when the butler got out of prison in the 3rd day, it happened. The baker got killed, and the butler went back to work. Now he didn't tell Pharaoh about him. So yeah, you remember he said, think of me, let him know I didn't do it. He didn't even mention him. See how people do you, and you get up, and that'll make you mad. Be ready to see. I should see when I get out, I'm gonna jack him up. But it wasn't. See, you're not. It's not about you. It's about God. So the reason why God allowed him to stay in prison, he stayed in there 2 more years. You know what I mean? Not because God wanted him to be in prison. It's because he had to learn how to serve a large amount of people. You know, you see what I'm saying? So he had to learn how to serve an amount of people. See, we want to do things our way. We don't want to be hemmed up like that. We don't want to do stuff. But how are you going to learn? How are you going to get into a place, the purpose that God had for you, if you don't go through something? That's why God said you got to embrace the trials and tribulations, because I'm doing this for your good. It's not to make you worse. Every plan that God has for you, he said, is for good, not evil. It's to give you a future and a hope. And but Joseph ain't saying that. He just did his 2 years, finished his 2-year bid. You know what I mean? And then now it's time for him to come out. See, now Pharaoh had a dream about a famine, a 7-year famine. So he couldn't get nobody, because he was not of God. So he was using magicians and all of them trying to get him to help him interpret the dream, but they couldn't do it. You can't get nothing that God is sending. You can't interpret it. You can try all you want. So now he's ready. You know what I mean? Now I have taught. So now, when you became a slave, you learn how to serve people. You know how to be meek. You know how to be temperate. You know how to find joy in what I'm taking through. So now then I put you in a prison. Now you know how to serve a ton of people. I've taught you. You've been there for years in prison. So now you're ready. You know how to be humble. I done humbled you from the arrogance. Because now you get locked up. You can't be arrogant now. You can't be bragging about something. So now I done delivered you from the humbleness, from the arrogance. I have trained you up to serve. You know what I mean? Now I've given you a gift. So now it's time to use the gift that I gave you. Now you're ready. So now what happened? The butler remembered Joseph. When he was in the dream, he was like, oh, it is a guy in the prison that you had me in that interpreted our dreams. And he told him how he went down. He said, and it happened. You let go of the baker, and I'm here serving you. So he called Joseph up. So now it's time for Joseph to work. Now it's time to work in your purpose. So he goes in, He tells him the dream, and he lets him know that what God was saying is that they finna have 7 years. You're gonna have 7 years where you're gonna have plenty of food. It's gonna be plenty. But then the 7 years after, it's gonna be famine. And the 7 years food that you had is not gonna be enough to carry you through the next 7 years. So Pharaoh asked him, "What shall I do?" Now, see, this is Joseph thing right here, because that's what he did with his 11 brothers. That's what they did. You know, they got food, they worked, they plant, you know, they took care of sheep, so they know how to hold on to food. You know what I mean? They weren't poor, but they just knew how to work it. So now you in your gift now, put it to work. You know what I mean? So now he telling him, so how should I do it? He said, well, you need to take your 7 years, flip that basically, put that in the stores, sell it, get enough, so when that 7 years, you're going to have enough to carry you for the next 15 years, basically what he was telling them. So he was like, but you're going to get somebody to run that. You want to get somebody to do that for you. Pharaoh looking like, you know all this? Oh, no, you finna run it. So he made him governor. So what now? He is in a place. Now he's in leadership. He's a governor of Egypt. So now they're going through the famine. Now as the famine's going through, now people got to try to go to these stores and get all this food before they run out. But since Joseph controlled all the food in Pharaoh, they had enough to sell and give to anybody. So anybody come, they was going to be able to get that food. You know what I mean? So who needs food? His 11 brothers. And his daddy and his mom and daddy. So what they do? They came there, bowed down to him for the food. Did God not tell him that his brothers was going to be bowing down to him? You know what I mean? And so now they're bowing down, asking for the food. They didn't even recognize Joseph because he's 30 years old now. Because he didn't become the governor until he became 30. So he went through 13 years of being prepped for this position. You see what I'm saying? So this is why you got to understand when people come in your face and they try to tick you off and all that, understand that they are on assignment. They try to change you. So you'll learn how to not go off on them. That's why he was on assignment. That's his brothers was on assignment. You know what I mean? He put that in their hearts to put him in that pit, to set him into slavery. Why? Because that was the only way he was going to learn. He had to be separated from his family because his family was going to keep him from learning how to serve. You see what I'm saying? So what happened? They're bowing down to him. Did he rub it in? No. He embraced them with love. And then he finally told them that he was their brother. And he didn't say, I shouldn't even give y'all no food. He gave them the food for free. He didn't even charge them. He gave them all that food because they didn't bring the little brother. They just came with the oldest brothers. So he put all that food and gave them all that corn, all the grain that they needed to take back to the parents, and then stuck the money back in the bag. And when they got home, they was like, they didn't take the money. You know what I mean? So the dad sent them back, even though because he wanted them to come back anyway. So they had to keep one of the brothers there because he wanted to see his little brother Benjamin, because him and Benjamin was tight. And he hadn't seen him in 13 years. So that he wanted them to come back, so he brought them back. And that's when he revealed that he was their brother. You know what I mean? And they were just like in awe, like, oh my God. So are we sorry and all this? And he was like, so it doesn't even matter. All this stuff is water under the bridge. He forgave them, and they put him in a pit to die and sold him into slavery. Can you honestly say you're going to forgive somebody like that? I don't care how many years went by. But God trained him. God got him ready for that day. To humble yourself. I used them to put you there, because if they wouldn't have did what they did to you, you would not be governor. And they would not be here bowing down to you now, like I promised you. You know what I'm saying? But see, that's the thing. When God gives us, if he calls and tells us, I got this, I want you to do this, we don't want to walk in those 9 spirits. We want to walk in the flesh. You know what I mean? When something going wrong, you call with like somebody going off on you. This man cuss me out. How you know God ain't allowed him to cuss you out? To teach you temperance, to teach you how to be humble. Because this is a training process. You work for him. So you have to develop those 9 spirits, those fruit of the spirits. If you sit up here cussing somebody out that's cussing you out, how he going to use you in that purpose? You can't take that with you. How you going to minister to somebody and you got anger? You can't even minister on anger because you still got it. So what he got to do? He got to let you go through some anger issues. He going to send everybody he can to cuss you out, to fuss you out. You know what I mean? And you looking at it like, God, why'd you allow this to happen? Until you learn how to be quiet, you can't move to the next level. So the next time that person cuss you out, that's okay, sweetie. Anything else you want me to get this for you? You know what I mean? And just keep being nice. Because that spirit in them is going to aggravate the mess out of them. They ain't going to know what to do. Like, well, whatever. So if you could just, you know what I mean? Then it came in all like, I just cut you and all this amazing. When you come in, it's okay. If what do you need me to do? I can fix it. Then they're going to be like, well, I'm just saying though. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be calming down then. That's that spirit that's how you beat that covers a multitude of sin. That's how you beat out sin with love. Because I mean you don't want to fuss out nobody's being sweet to you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I didn't know this happened. This wasn't even on me. I will fix it however you want me to, what I need to do. You just be like, so if you can just you know what I mean? Because I mean, why you gonna cuss out somebody? Then it's just some people that God is gonna allow to even cuss you out in your niceness. Because it's another test. Let's see if she go higher with the pitch. You like, okay, so now I done try to be nice. You know, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? That's how you end up going like that. I done try to be nice. So that's what God gonna take you on that next level. To see if you gonna still maintain. And if someone's a fail, you be nice the first time and they ignore that niceness. Well, look, I don't care about all that. Then you be like, see, I done try to be nice. Now you about to make me go ghetto now. You know what I mean? Now you done failed. You know what I mean? So now you ain't ready.
And you better hope God that's my favorite saying. You done got on my nerves now, and you better hope God be with me.
Yeah.
Get out my face. That quick.
But when you're maintaining and you giving it to God, because God, you gotta remember, they're on assignment. Always remember that. They are on assignment. Anybody that gets mad with you or be disrespectful, like that little kid out there in your yard, they're on assignment. All God is doing is trying to get you prepared for the purpose that He has for your life. And you got to be walking in the spirit and not in the flesh. So until you get to where you need to be in that area, you're gonna stay right there and it's gonna delay the purpose. You know what I mean? And it's okay, but I mean it ain't okay to be delayed, but if God made a promise, it's gonna happen. And see, it took 13 years for Joseph because Joseph was 17 years old. He didn't have no experience. He didn't know how to serve people. He didn't know how to humble himself. He was a 17-year-old kid that was probably hyped up and like, y'all gonna bow to me. You know what I mean? He didn't understand what God was trying to tell him. I'm using you so you can feed this Egypt. I'm using you so you can serve your people to provide food for them, provide things for them. This is what I'm using you for. I didn't say that you need to walk around bragging because they're going to be bowing down to you. I didn't tell you to do that. God probably thrown like this when he was bragging about it. He probably was like, see.
I'm going to have to show him.
So I'm gonna have to, yeah, that's exactly what he said. I'm gonna have to show him better attention. Now I'm gonna have to humble him. All right, so let me use these boys. So he done got the brothers to send them on up out of here. So now okay, you paid for it. Now it's time to teach you how to serve. That put you in slavery. Because in slavery, you can't leave. You got to serve. So then when you're serving, it's gonna be instilled in you. You know how people, when they get locked up in prison, they've been locked up so long, they come out of jail, they still sleep on the floor or whatever, or they still shanking and about ready to shank somebody to come knock on the door because they done been locked up for so long. That's why God kept them in there for so long, because now when you learn how to serve, it's stuck in you. You're going to just have this servant in your head now. That's why people got to understand when somebody get locked up in prison, sometimes God put you there. Yeah. Just like those guys on that song, a lot of them was put there and they serve God. If you don't understand it, if you don't understand how God do things, that's why you read these stories in the Bible. Because if you understand it, then you're gonna go off. Then you're gonna be upset. Like how I'm supposed to be a woman of God and you got me up here in prison. You know what I mean? It's a reason why you there. He don't care about that. All he cares is about you serving his purpose. And your purpose always gonna lead into you winning souls. And he won his 11 brothers. They understood what they went through. He understood. And look at you bowing down to him. Okay, let me get some of that God. You know what I mean? Because you chilling. Dude, you governor. So what I need to do to get some of that, to get where you at? You know what I mean? And that's how you did. He won all them souls. He was an influence on the people that was working. He had people working for him. So you know the type of life, you know the type of walk he had. So everybody was probably drawn to it, saying, you know what is this deal with your God? You know what I mean? Like, even Potiphar, even Pharaoh. Curious. Some of them people, they never was like, they just curious. I want to get some of that God you got. You know what I mean? Because you chilling, you went from a slave to the governor. You know what I'm saying? But he had to go through some stuff to become that governor. But it wasn't to make him mad. It was to get him ready. So that way he can work into that gift and that field like a pro. because God trained them. Nobody else. So that's what I'm saying. When you're going through something, or if you lose your job and you can't pay your bills, it ain't because God didn't say he can't provide, because God can provide to you according to his riches. So he can provide for you, but you may have an issue where you spend too much. You know what I mean? You ain't prepping for a rainy day. You ain't prepping for hard times. And how you gonna teach somebody how to manage their money? How you gonna minister in that on how to manage your money? And you sit up here spending like you crazy. You know what I mean? So since you want it, so what I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna have to make you lose everything, so you learn how to appreciate it. Then when you start making money, you be like, you know what? Last time I lost my job, I ain't had no money saved up. So yeah, let me go ahead on and stack some money in the bank. You know what I mean? Because you done learned your lesson. It ain't everything you go through. It's a God to teach you, so you could be better prepared for whatever you have. Everybody don't go through the same struggle. You know what I mean? Joseph went through all this. David ain't go through that. David had to worry about Saul trying to kill him. You know what I mean? So he didn't go through what Joseph went through. Abraham ain't go through what Joseph went through. Everybody go through a different thing according to who you are, according to your character. You know what I mean? So you gotta, because you have to learn. You have to be able to work in that purpose. So God will take you through some stuff. You know what I mean? Just like they finna get married. So what's gonna be tested? How to stand tall in the marriage and not run. So what God gonna do? Keep sending stuff to interfere with their marriage. Let's see if they're gonna be tough enough to rough it out, or are they gonna get up and leave? And the Bible says that you're not supposed to divorce. So are you gonna tough it out? Are you gonna learn? Because say for instance that they married, like me and Sean married. God showed me counseling a marriage couple years ago, did he not? But you know what? Me and him had to go through. How can I minister on teaching a married couple how to maintain, and we got hell in the house? You know what I mean? I'm in there sitting off throwing chicken wings at him and all this stuff, doing stuff to him, trying to tase him. Like, God, like, how I'm gonna tell somebody how to get through some stuff? You know what I mean? Or how to walk in love, and we ain't here about to kill each other. So what he do? He prepped us. We went through some stuff. Do you hear me? We went through some stuff. We had to go through him leaving, running, and all this stuff. We had to get to a common ground. God had to keep dealing. We had to keep going to God. God, I have a bad temper. You got a bad temper. So what he do? He kept making Sean take me there. My temper Sean doing a little petty stuff that was getting to me. He was using Sean, and just like he was using me to get to Sean. How you gonna teach somebody how to be humble and talk to each other nice if every time somebody go off or do something you don't like, you going in on them? You know what I mean? So what we do, the toilet seat I was going in about that, God taught me to shut up. What's the deal? Just put the toilet seat down. I mean, God literally said that to me. Just put the toilet seat down. One time while I was cleaning the house up, he'd come in and drop his little book bag and all that stuff all in the middle of the floor. He don't do that now. That's how you know God was using him to get to me. Now I don't even know that book bag exists anymore. It wasn't he was doing it on purpose. God was using him. Because I was getting paid. This stuff bothered me. Like, dude, I just cleaned up this whole house. And you come in dropping your little book bag. You can't take that upstairs and put that somewhere. And I sat down, God said, pick that book bag up. You ain't got to do all that fussing. You know what I mean? And I just thought about okay. You know what I mean? And I stopped complaining about the book bag. But I was like, can you at least work with me on this? Have some kind of compassion. I'm pretty sure God was dealing with him because he started doing the same thing. And that's how we do. We kept going through these tests, going through things with money. You know what I mean? Going through all kinds of stuff till it got us. I mean, this is you talking how many years we've been doing this? 4, 5 years? Going through some stuff. Now we're at a place where we are good. We don't argue. If he do something, I don't complain about nothing he do. He don't say nothing about me.
Yeah, I used to have pride. I couldn't be wrong. I always had to be right.
So God had to humble him.
Now I apologize and know when I'm wrong. Instead of just trying to even tell a little white lie.
The Sean I know. The quiet Sean.
Oh, ain't nothing quiet about this dude. And look, I'm going to tell you how God humbled him. He got so much pride. See, the thing with his pride, ain't no woman going to tell him how to run his business, how he do things. It's just that was his thing with listening. It's not like he didn't respect me. Just like, you a woman, I'm a man. That's that mentality he had. So it's been twice where, like I shared this with them. One time when he first got his car was his car. He had his little car, and he was just hooking up like a little Mexican, just putting all this little stuff on it. Doing that's what I told him. I said, yeah, like old Mexican, putting all that stuff. He just hooking it up, putting in spoilers here, doing all this stuff. Ain't even thinking about God. Ain't reading. I said, Sean, you got to stop putting that car for God. You ain't even been in the Word. You been out here on this car. You ain't even reading and praying. He won't hear me. You know what I mean? He ain't got time to listen to no woman. Look, just sit back and let me do with my car. What God do? Got that car wrecked. He hit a good dog. Somebody else hit him. God tore that car up. You know what I mean? If it could have been on Transformers because it like it was about to transform. You know what I mean? Tore that car up. But he still ain't learned his lesson.
3 accidents.
He still, but see, he still had pride. And see, I was asking God to remove that pride from him so we can be it again. And me too. So what he do? He ain't listen to me again. He into this thing, having guns, because you gotta have your house, gotta protect your house. He buying all these guns. Doing this little thing with his guns, flipping it, doing it, and shining it, flipping it out, selling, buying this gun. Oh, I don't like this gun. I think I'm gonna go get another. Oh, they ain't thought about God. Ain't reading, ain't praying. I said, Sean, now you know good well this ain't a God. You sitting there, now I already had a problem with the gun. I said, but if you're gonna get the gun, fine. But get the gun, put it in your case, leave it alone. Stop pulling out some little child like you got a little toy, a little water gun or whatever. And I'm going in. I said, it's not the way to do it. It's not of God. He ain't want to listen. Ain't nobody studying you. Anyway, do my little thing. What he do? Calling his boy. You ain't going to the gun. Go to the gun show. You know, where they going to the little gun? The gun range. What he do? Pull his gun out to clean it. Shot himself in the foot.
Oh my God.
Because God don't play. When you ask him, if you pray for somebody, because I asked God to remove that pride, there's twice that your wife done try to tell you to listen and you won't listen because we are helpmeets to each other. So that means when your wife is trying to give you some advice and it's the other way around, you need to listen. If it's godly advice, and I try to listen, he didn't want to listen. So he got shot in the foot. And what happened when you get shot in the foot? You're not working. Can't pay bills. But what I tell you, when you going through something, God gonna be there with you. You got to pay the cost. But God gonna be there with you. Just like Joseph. And the Bible says, and God was with Joseph. So Joseph was in prison. And a slave because he was arrogant and wouldn't listen, thought he was all that. But God was with him, showed favor. What happened? God showed favor. He still paid his bills. He still got the mortgage paid and all that stuff paid. Well, no problem, because look, you got to pay for it. You getting punished, your foot, you all hemmed up. You know what I mean? But then I had to be tested too. Serving him. I was pissed off at him. I didn't want to work on his little foot. And I'm a nurse. I'm like, if you wouldn't have did this, I wouldn't have to be up here wrapping your little foot. So I was in evil mode. You know what I mean? I didn't want to wrap his little foot. I said, now you taking up my little time. Now I got to wrap your little foot. I wouldn't have to do this if you listened to me the first time. But I'm still his wife. And I still got to be there for him. So I had to go in the room and pray. God, I'm mad. I said, I don't even want to help him with his foot. I'm just upset because I asked him to put you first, and he put that gun first, and now I got to help him with his foot after something could have been prevented. I said, so God, I need you right now. I need you to make me the wife that I'm still supposed to be. It shouldn't matter what he did because people make mistakes. And Sean made a mistake. Then I can't hold that mistake against him as a wife. So I had to get God to get me in that state of mind to not hold that mistake. I went in that prayer room, and I came out. All right, let's do this thing with this foot. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Then I took care of that foot all the way out into a hill. You know what I mean? And that's what we got to do. We got to push that pride aside and do right by God. Because God, you're supposed to love him and be there for him no matter what kind of mistake he made. You know what I mean? So but I'm in the flesh. I had to go in there and pray so I can get in the spirit. You know what I mean? Right. Because God understands you in the flesh. That's why he said, come to him, acknowledge him in all of your ways. No matter what you're going through. If he done made you man, I get it. Because he made God mad too. That's why I got him shot in the foot. You know what I mean? So God gets it. All you got to do is come to him with it. You know what I mean? All right, I'm going to get you the right set of mind. And then boom. So we had to go through some stuff. And then you two come along. And then I remember when God said, I'm going to have you ministering to a married couple. You know what I mean? Remember, even Sean remember. You remember when God said that? And what we doing? But I'm at a place where I can. You know what I mean? You got to go through some stuff before God can use you. You got to be cleansed. And that's what he did with Joseph. He had to cleanse him. Just like he got to cleanse. He had to cleanse me and Sean. You know what I mean? So we can be at that point. Can't nobody say, y'all be fussing when you hear us fussing up in here. You know what I mean? Ain't no arguing up in here. If anything, my daughter be all like, Lord, y'all, because we all, even Jazz barking at us, if anything, we always hugging up, loving up, all up on each other. Jazz can't even stand it. It's getting on his nerves. You know what I mean? Don't it, babe? If he looking at us down, we kiss, he's going to come over here and ball. Like, y'all getting on my nerves, and all this little lovey-dovey stuff. See? Kiss, look at him already over here. All on Sean. Sean is not allowed Sean is not allowed to touch me, kiss me, or anything. So if he hears Sean blow a kiss, he coming in here. Normally he's barking at us. He can't stand it. We do it so we walk in love. We have conversations. So we don't agree with, and I seek him in everything. I go to him because your husband is is the head of your house. It's God, then your husband, and you. And see, you have to learn how to submit, because women don't like to submit. You know how tough we are. Oh, I pay my own bills. I ain't submitting to nothing. You can go ahead on with that mess. But if he know how to lead, submit. Now, if he don't know how to lead, then he ain't ready for nobody. He don't even need to be married. If he can't lead, he ain't ready for marriage. You know what I mean? Because ain't nobody going to be submitting to some weak individual that you could tell what to do. You know what I mean? You can't submit to that. And then it's going to be hard to even get you in a mindset, too, when he start trying to step up. Like, you going to be stuck on, dude, I used to tell you what to do. You know what I mean? It's like you can't even get out of that mode. You going to need God to get you out of that mode. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. So with Joseph, that's what I want you guys to understand, is when you're going through something, don't be mad at God. Don't look at it as, why am I going through this? I'm a woman of God. Why is this person always cussing me out? Understand that God is preparing you for what he's about to do, for him to use you. It's called spiritual preparation.
So you say the enemy is part of the assignment.
The enemy can't do nothing to you without God's permission.
Right.
Never. So even if somebody cuss you out, God gave them permission to do it. And it's not, like I said, it's not to hurt you. It's to make you better. So he could be able to use you. You know what I mean? Because we're supposed to be godly people. We're supposed to walk in the image. So when you give our life to God, we are new creatures with the renewal of our minds as well. We can't have that old mind trying to minister the word of God. You can't still have an attitude problem. You can't still be stealing or telling lies. You know what I mean? You can't still be doing that and then trying to preach to somebody. You know what I mean? Because it just ain't going to work. Because people going to be ready to say, didn't I just see you lying to the... Or you at the club? How you going to be preaching to me and you up here in the club? Right. But then the first time you hollering, don't be judging me. It's not judging. It's the truth. What you doing up in here? You ministering the word of God. You up here in the club. Now you can't trust. Now they can't trust you. Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of churches, that's why a lot of people have church hurt. Because you done broke trust. Yep. You ain't really living for God. This is why you got to live for God on your own. You know what I mean? That's why God said you can't rely on man. You got to rely on him. You know what I mean? So you just have to understand, that's why you need to forgive every time somebody do something to you, or when your family feel like they done left you hanging, or might have abandoned you, or they are abandoning you for a reason. God wants to separate you. You know what I mean? That's why he does. That's why he allows it to go down. Okay, let them abandon you. That's what I want. I need you to separate from them. I'm here to use you so you can win them. You can't win them. They all up in your face with their little mess. So I need you to separate from them, move them aside, get right with me, and then I'm going to send them back like he did Joseph. I told you they was going to bow to you one day. They can't bow to you right now because they can't even stand you. You know what I mean? So I'm going to need to separate you from them, get you ready, prep you up, get you in the word, get you in a relationship with me, let you go through some stuff, get you right, and then I'm going to send your family back to you. And he sent them back, and they all lived with him. They lived happily ever after in Egypt. You know what I mean? It was mad respect. They loved him. They didn't respect him before he left. They put him in the pit, sold him into slavery. But when he came back, that respect was there and the love was there. They no longer hated him. He no longer hated them. They had love, peace, joy, gentleness. You know what I mean? And it was due to Joseph, faith in God, why I came to all of that.
So his long suffering was being in prison for 13 years.
And into slavery. Because long suffering means patience through the storm. Having patience when you're going through something. And so he was going through some stuff, but he still had patience.
Well, when I heard that, I was like, we getting ready to go. I was like,
So anybody got any questions that or did we?
Kind of break down everything that, you know, I know for me, what I've been going through. You know, 2020 was not a year for me.
That was a year for half of us.
It just wasn't a pandemic. It was just the beginning of a lot of eye openers. You see stuff, you know, because I was kind of falling back from a lot of stuff anyway. And I was trying to. I'm always a pleaser. I'm always trying to look out for people all the time. And when